Thanks a lot and welcome to everyone who's joining us on day 3 of FICCI Frames. It's lovely to do the first session. I guess they thought that because it's, sports people, they tend to get up early. So they've given us the first slot right up in the morning, and with lovely, time that we expect to be having in the next 1 hour. And it's great for all of you to join us just to, set the agenda. The subject that we're talking about is resetting the sports ecosystem, opportunities in the new normal world. And to say that the last 3.5 months have been tough for sport would be an understatement. It has taken its toll, and not just in sports alone, but in majority of sectors, whether it is at a commercial level, whether it's at a mental or a physical level, even at an organizational level, things have been affected. But the good news is that the last few weeks we've seen, sports return back to normal. We've seen, European football leagues commence. We've now finally got some international cricket too. I know that a lot of Olympic athletes, whether they are in Europe or in India, have begun training. So things are looking good. Yet for the next 1 hour or so, I'll try and look back at the 3.5 months. Look back because there's one particular aspect of that 3.5 months which we tend to overlook, and that's the time that we all had to contemplate, time that we all had to think about how to bring about a change in our sporting ecosystem. I mean, all of us usually in this sporting fraternity are so busy with our daily lives, we tend not to spend a lot of time thinking how to bring about that bigger change in sport. Probably these 3.5 months have helped us do that. And I'm grateful to be joined by this wonderful panel for two reasons. One, of course, each of them are in that position where they can take that idea that we may be discussing, a germ, and then really, transform it into something concrete. And on a second level, having known these people who are joining me, I know they're all great thinkers. They do spend time to think about their sport, and it's not just something that they execute when they're playing or when they're organizing, but they also spend a lot of time how to make sport better. So I'd love to be picking their brains for the next 1 hour or so. Let me quickly introduce the panel to you. I'll start with Mr. Narendra Batra. He's the president of Indian Olympic Association, also the president of FIH, the governing body of hockey globally. I'm joined by Mithali Raj. She needs no introduction, captain of the Indian women's one-day team. She's the highest run getter in the history of women's cricket, and her hobby, I know, is reading. And when she's not reading books, she's just busy rewriting history books when she's on the field. So Mithali joins us. Lovely to have you, Mithali. Another icon of our sporting ecosystem is Sunil Chhetri, the captain of the Indian football team, the highest goal scorer in the history of Indian football. And I know that he's far from retirement at the moment, but he's already got multiple offers as a TV presenter after his highly successful interview series called 11 on 10 on Instagram. Mustafa Ghosh joins us. He's a former Davis Cupper, also CEO of JSW Sport, an entity that has presence across the entire landscape of Indian sports, whether it is from Olympic sports, football, and now even cricket. And last but not the least, Sanju Gupta, head product of Star Sports and chair of FICCI Sports Committee. I did not introduce Mr. Pradhan because he's the one who's going to get this entire session started. So could I please request Mr. Sandeep Pradhan, Director General of SAI, to give us his keynote address, please, sir.
Thank you, Nikhil. A very good morning to everyone. It's a privilege to share this platform with some of the most prominent names from the sporting fraternity, many of whom I have had the fortune to know and work with them as well. I extend my hearty congratulations to FICCI and Shri Uday Shankar and his team for organizing FICCI Frames even in these very challenging times and bringing together various stakeholders to throw open a discussion on the way forward for sports in India and to bring forth the vision that can propel India into one of the top sporting nations in the world. The topic for today's agenda is an interesting one: resetting the sports ecosystem, opportunities in the new normal world. To be honest, I do not have expertise on the matter, don't claim to give new thoughts, but maybe some of them act just as a trigger for your subsequent discussions. I'm sure all the people around and the audience have much or many more thoughts to offer. As a country, we are going through unprecedented time. The corona pandemic has adversely impacted all sphere of life, and we need to reset, reinvent, rework our priorities and the way we approach our work. Across the country, as all of you know, all the sporting activities have come to grinding halt. Little bit started very recently. The whole sports ecosystem has come to halt. The most important elements being the schools, they are closed down, gyms, swimming pool, clubs are closed down. Closure of regular sports training, sports equipment manufacturing units, etc. The list is very long, but slowly, as Nikhil said, the things are looking up. At the outset, let me say that wherever many things will undergo change, many things will remain as it is after a couple of years. For example, earlier we used to have say many physical seminars, meetings, work from home, work from office majorly, and now the webinars, meetings through video conference, the seminars like this, the work from home, etc., is becoming order of the day. This certainly will have a long-lasting impact on certain sectors of the economy. However, since the commerce around sports in our country is still at a nascent stage, I see many of the things in sports coming back and will have same or even more relevance. It is general belief that those who are healthy and fit have good resistance, have less to fear. We, along with the CBSE, are also advocating 1 hour of active lifestyle, including sports for the children, school-going children. Driving sports and fitness amongst 30 crore children of the country is going to be the key agenda. Hence, those who have developed properties, expertise, network need to be patient and find the ways to absorb or minimize the losses for maybe a couple of years. The trained workforce need to work around new things for some time until things come back to the normalcy. So my suggestion would be preserve the best. And friends, as you know, comeback is always stronger than the straight back. ये हमारे हिंदी में भी कहावत है कि वो पहलवान मजबूत होता है जो गिरने के बाद उठता है, और इसीलिए ये सिखाया जाता है, उसको पंच खाने के लिए भी सिखाया जाता है, जिससे वो डबल एनर्जी के साथ उठ करके और बाउंस बैक कर सकता है. Now friends, as everybody is talking about the new opportunities, the opportunities can be seen by few experimentation that SAI has done recently. Shortly after we went to lockdown, the Sports Authority of India, along with the National Sports Federation, launched a series of online classes for coaches and athletes to ensure that they could use the time to enhance their capabilities and skills while staying focused. We, along with the federations and the IOA, conducted this coaching program where more than 10,000 coaches for over a period of 1 month in 27 sports disciplines attended the program. And we also are right now, every day we are training 5,000 grassroots and development level athletes with the help of federation through online coach and the players training development program. We recently conducted a physical fitness and a community coaching program which was attended by 6,000 PE teachers. So friends, what I'm trying to say that the things are looking up. People want to learn, people want to get engaged, and that gives a ray of hope. We created more than 1,000 hours of original content for our fans, for of the people who need them. We never did this earlier. Friends, India's strength is population and comfort for IT technology. In recent times, we have seen large number of people, parents, students, administrators, using the technology without any barrier, which is a welcome sign and encouraging too. Few pain areas around the country probably is lack of trained human resources at a grassroots level for fitness, and maybe grassroots coaches for various sports. The coaches at grassroots level are very rare. For entrepreneur, geographical spread makes it unviable to reach out to the grassroots level because of financial viability is an issue and because of the limited spending capacity at a grassroots level. How we work around these odds and find a renewed way forward. The new normal for us is going to be physical, being physical while leveraging digital. Even for private players, it is important to use this time to embrace physical to engage with the consumer base, especially kids at home through e-learning and video conference platform. Some of the entrepreneurs are already trying innovation to keep the brand sports connected with its fan, like junior NBA at home and maybe some video quizzing and stuff like that. This is the time to be innovative and build sub-brands around the sports and build its heroes. Speaking of other stakeholders, corporates, the sports broadcasters have a big role to play for road to resumption. Our Honorable Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports, Shri Kiren Rijiju, has called upon the stakeholders to start planning of organizing events, which of course will take place after assessing the COVID situation. And we are in touch with some of the federations and the league owners to find out the difficulties and how we move forward in the country. Starting sports event in the country, even if without spectators and in a controlled environment, will act as a shot in arm for the currently dormant sporting scene. It has the double pronged benefit of enthusiasing the athletes and also creating a sense of normalcy in the overall ecosystem, not just the sports. In COVID situation, creation of live content will have its own value. We have seen how the sports properties in Europe innovate in resuming the leagues behind the closed doors, and maybe little we can be little more creative. Our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji in his recent Mann Ki Baat has stressed upon the opportunity to revive traditional sports during this period. Of course, he has talked about on-ground creation of these new properties. He highlighted the opportunities for presenting the traditional games in an attractive avatar through innovation on the part of the startup and suppliers. Harnessing innovation ideas in line with vocal for local is also primed to be the part of the new normal. Thus, opportunities are many. We need to explore and trust ourselves. Before I sign off, I would like to draw attention to the larger vision. We need to work on this once the pandemic is over, so as to propel India into this sporting powerhouse. The role of government is to act as a catalyst. I am confident that our mutual cooperation will be the key, not just overcoming this tough time, but also in paving a way to a glorious future of Indian sports with the support of all key stakeholders, including corporate India. Like I said, we have some eminent speakers on the day, on the panel today, and my thoughts are at the best trigger points. I am sure esteemed panelists today session will deliberate on that matter in great detail. We look forward to some rich discussions and recommendations from FICCI Sports Committee, and would like to thank Vice President FICCI Shri Uday Shankar and FICCI Sports Committee for organizing events. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pradhan, for that all-encompassing speech that you've just given. I mean, you covered every bit. I had a few questions, but as I said, you've covered most of them. I'll ask you one question, though, very specific, because we recently saw that, the shooting range has been made open for the top-level athletes. Is that a sign that now the top-level athletes across all other sports will get to now resume their training or even competition?
Surely we are aware that the Olympics is now pushed to 2021, and we need to start the training for the Olympic bound athletes as early as possible. So in phase one, since some of the athletes in some sports discipline were already stuck up in Patiala and Bangalore, in phase one we started the sports activities for those athletes. Now in phase 1 alpha, we are calling it 1 alpha, we are now requesting the other athletes who are Olympic bound and are going to get medals or probables. So we are providing the platform to start their training as early as possible. And moving forward, our aim is to increase the number of athletes who can be trained in different locations. And we and the federations have come up with a very robust system where the interest of the athletes is also protected. At the same time, we all have to understand that we need to learn in the COVID situation, which is going to last for a very long time.
All right, Mr. Pradhan, thanks so much for that detailed speech and that detailed answer. I'd like you thank you for joining us and giving us the ground reality where Indian sport finds itself at the moment. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll dive into the discussion now. And as I mentioned right at the start, I'll try and get my panelists to tell me what's that one area that they want in their particular sport to be rebooted. Before that, let me touch base with Sunil and Mithali and just find out how they've been. I'll start with you, Sunil. I know because football has started. Are you getting enough sleep because all the matches are pretty late in the night?
I miss them. I don't watch them because I sleep early. But in the morning, the ones that I'm not very interested, I only see the goals and highlights. And the ones that I'm really intrigued, I watch more of them because of technology. You can watch them in multiple platforms.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm missing all of them because I sleep early. Fortunately, I'm at IIS, which is at Bellary, 5 hours from Bangalore. And to be honest, I'm really fortunate because I probably am at arguably the best sporting center in the country.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying, morning gym, evening ground training, volleyball. I know I'm making a lot of you jealous, but it's paradise here. Great food, great weather, access to everything, ice bar, jacuzzis and all stuff. So yeah, nothing much to complain for me.
Yeah, at the end of your answer, the one with the biggest smile is Mustafa there because he has a lot to do with that facility that you're talking about. Mithali, what about you? I mean, coincidentally, we're talking today, a day after the international cricket is resumed. I don't know, unlike Sunil, your sport started at a more correct time where you could have watched. Did you get a chance to see it? And if you did, how was it seeing a ball being bowled in international cricket for after 3.5 months?
Well, I think I was keen to, follow the test match, and I was keeping a tap of the dates. And yesterday, yes, of course, I sat on to. Unfortunately, it was delayed due to rain in UK. But there was a little bit of there when the two captains came down for the toss, and usually the buzz around in the stadium before the toss, and there's so many people around when the captains are there for the toss, and you hardly find anybody there with those, only the cameramen and. Getting the toss done with just the referee around, so a little bit of change in all those sort of things. But I think it's a respite after 3 months to actually have television come down to play. Yes.
All right. I think we're having a bad connection with Mithali. If that could be looked at, Mr.
You know, Nikhil, I love the
please.
fact she said referee and not umpire.
I know.
Match referee, I said.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Yeah, but funny enough, cricket has a match referee and an umpire, so she has come back on that. But maybe she's watching all the football. If not you, she's watching it. Mr. Batra, just to take that forward from what Pradhan was saying, and we've heard the two athletes as well, talking to us just now about, Sunil, listening to him, how he's trying to get back to normal. Mithali is excited looking at international cricket return. Are you also seeking feedback? I know you're doing work at your end. Are you also seeking feedback from athletes? I mean, are they skeptical to get started? What are their inhibitions? Anything like that?
No, I am in touch with athletes, I think, for all the Olympic sports, and even who are bound for Tokyo Olympics. And even the other sports also who are not bound for Tokyo Olympics. Yes, everyone is eager to start.
Yeah.
But yes, we know we have restrictions. There are team sports, there are contact sports, there are individual sports and water-based. So as of now, I think team sports have started in a controlled manner, and few of the individual sports have started. Water-based sports or contact sports are yet to start. So yes, there is a bit of desperation among athletes, because if you train at home or don't train your actual environment, you don't get to maintain that fitness level which are required for the international competition. So they are very eager to go back on the field, and the sooner Mr. Pradhan gives us a go ahead to go in a actually match bound way, I think the better it is for train for 2020 Olympics, I would say.
Yeah, he did give us an indication that it'll be sooner rather than later. As we heard, the shooters are back already at the Karni Singh shooting range. Now to that big idea that I was talking at the start of the program, that, I'll try, if not a big idea, at least one particular segment or an area that you think needed rebooting. You had time, 3.5 months to think about, sport and contemplate where you'd like to see your sport go in the next few months. If I could start with Mustafa, I'll start with you now to get a word in from you. Any particular area, and because you look after a lot of sport, interest of all, and not just as a former tennis player, but just as a sports administrator now, someone who's involved. Any area that you think a larger or a macro area that needs to be looked at, rebooted?
But Nikhil, I think it's across.
Are you going to tell me the list is too long?
It is across the board. Unfortunately for us, we have to come up with different strategies for different sports. But I think the overarching mandate that we have within the team is how we are going to use technology more in everything that we're looking at, whether it is with regards to the engagement with our fans, which is a huge part of our development and our growth, as well as what we do with our athletes, our players, and our teams. So we are really pushing hard to understand that what are the various tech platforms, what are the various innovations that we can bring in to further up the game in terms of everything related to our respective sports, considering, like we all know, there is a new normal that we all have to get used to. And yes, getting while Sunil was sleeping, our teams have to stay up and watch all these games because we have to see what's happening with the best in the world, not only from what they're doing on the pitch, but what they're doing off it and how they're making that experience so much better. So trying to pick brains of everyone around globally, because we're seeing a lot of sports starting now, and when Sanjog gives us a green light for when all our leagues will start, we will we will be able to implement some of those here in India.
Mustafa, sledging is not allowed on this panel.
We'll pin him down a little later. I've got questions for him to answer. But Sunil, I'll come to you. Anything specific? I mean, Mustafa gave us a broader picture. As he said, he's looking after a lot of sport and things that really need to be looked at. But let's look at specific. Let's take a look at Indian football. I'm sure, as I said at the start, you're one of those thinkers who thinks about the sport and not just your individual performances. What do you think is that one area that we could think it could be a big idea for all, out of the box idea, or something very basic?
I think one small thing, which probably is very profound now, I understand, which you inculcate in future, is giving this small programs to every individual athlete. I know it's not easy to do it across the country, but with our clubs and the country management, every one of them are sending us specific programs, which we have to work on ourselves. And why it is very important is because a lot of times in a team sport, we neglect a lot of things because we have to train as a team. We have to prepare as a team. So a lot of things, for a small example, I've been having a hamstring niggle for the last 2 years and I've been carrying it. But now this 3.5 months, because I had a very specific program given to me by 2 different sets of physios and the medical team, I've been working on it and I feel absolutely brilliant. So I think going forward, it's not going to be a bad idea that even though we get into the team sport, we get into the whole competition, but still all the players should take out some time, get in hold with the right physio and the right person involved and work on these things, because these things are so important. And I realize this now, that how important it is, because the way I feel. Because in my sport, it's 9 months, 10 months, Saturday match and then Wednesday match and then recovery and then again pre-match and again get ready for the next match. We forget to take care of our bodies or specific things. It might be anything. For you, it might be a hamstring. For somebody, it might be a finishing drill. But it's so important. And eventually, if every single individual is doing that, as a whole, the team improves. And that's why I come to your answer. As a country, when you play football, it will improve. Imagine if every person who is in the national team right now working on those things, on those specific things and getting fitter. And if everyone improves that 10%, 15%, as a team, we all collectively improve. And we will improve for sure.
Okay, just to understand what you're saying that, in a team sport, you've got individuals and each individual then needs to be looked at differently because his demands would be very different. So is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but not looked at by somebody else, by himself first, himself or herself first. Okay. Himself or herself has to understand that this is something that I've been neglecting. We are so, and Mithali will understand this, we are so used to not paying attention to small niggles. Because in our mind, we think we are Superman and we'll keep going on, We don't take that adequate rest or maybe the adequate training or exercise that is needed to make that small niggle better. But now in this last 3.5 months, because I had time and because there was no matches and because there's no team training, I could focus on those things. For me, it's like the hamstring that I was struggling with. For a lot of players, it might be something else. So if specifically we improve, and this is what the 3.5 months gave me, if specifically we all improve in the small aspects, as a team will improve. Definitely, miles improvement.
Okay, that's a very profound thought. I'll take that question to Mithali, and from you, obviously going to talk about women's cricket. But before I ask you for that one thing that you need or one area that needs some rebooting, do you think that this entire thing, unfortunately for women's cricket, came at a very wrong time? Because, from that 2017 World Cup onwards, till the T20 World Cup that finished in Australia, women's cricket was on a rise. This has come at a very abrupt time.
Definitely, after the T20 World Cup, which was recently concluded in Australia, I think the finals, there were so many people who turned up. And after having a MCG packed stadium and record-breaking viewership for the World Cup, you suddenly have to probably now imagine playing in front of an empty stadium. So yeah, we've probably gone back few years in terms of women's cricket matches. There is still a lot of followers who would want to see women's cricket probably live action on television. Yes, I definitely feel that women's cricket probably would have gone back few years because of the pandemic.
Any one area that you think now needs to be looked at as far as women's cricket is concerned?
Well, I think adding to what Sunil said, I completely agree that this 2-3 months of lockdown has actually given us a lot of me time, or the personal time, to actually invest in ourselves, to see where where we can improve as a player. But as a team, I think it has got we worked a lot on communication, because in normal circumstances everybody meet together in a camp, we meet, we play together, and then we disperse back, and there is absolutely no touch. But now, because not many people are able to travel with the lockdown, there has been improvement in terms of the management coming into play to get the girls together, to have probably a webinar or have calls together, so that we can understand who's going what kind of facilities they have, if somebody is worrying about some niggles, injuries, or the mental setup. Because a lot of young girls, they definitely need that support in times like this, because there's a lot of uncertainty for them. Seasoned players like us, we do know maybe we might have few days where we again get back into the routine, but it is the young players or the group stage athletes who need that kind of a support from, say, a sports psychologist or a physiotherapist or a trainers, to actually get them motivated to continue to train or have a very healthy mindset. So I think that is something we worked now, because say even for women's cricket in 19 stage, a lot of girls come together only when there is a tournament or when there is a camp, and then after that they don't have any communication with the support staff, because everybody trains with their personal coaches. But now it is very important, and probably it is the reason why everybody are trying to connect through these webinars. Like I had a webinar with the UPCA, that is Uttar Pradesh Cricket Association, who got the under 19 players to actually interact with me, share their doubts or the difficulties that they face during the lockdown, or their playing days, where I'm able to help them with my own experience. I think these things really work, and that is where I think we have developed a connect. Otherwise, probably I wouldn't know who's the under 19 player in UPCA. But now I do know there are few players who have interacted over a webinar, who have expressed their difficulties, and I was able to help them.
Mr. Batra, if I could have your thoughts on what these two athletes have just said, for players to understand themselves, work with, let's say, a consistency in the physio that they've got. Are these things that you also thought about?
These are standard protocols. I think all athletes follow that. There's nothing new about it. I think every team or every individual have their own physios, or the teams have their physios and scientific advisors moving along with all. These are standard things, having basic legal issues or tissue issues. So these are sorted out for all the athletes, and this is part of the setup we already have in the program for elite athletes, I would say. But at the level, if you go a bit lower, yes, these facilities are definitely missing. But you want to know something about restructuring of the sport, if that is the issue.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I don't have one, but I have few issues which I would like to say, because I cover all the sports, not just one or two sports, so they all come under me. My first thing is that it would be unfair to expect government to restructure or rebuild the entire process. And that's where the FICCI or ASSOCHAM or CII come in, the business houses have to come in. And the CSR which is being spent right now, I think I've been part of CSR committee. This is mostly spent under political pressures, and most of the industries are in Karnataka, Maharashtra, big industries. And so wherever the money is spent in their local areas under the pressure of Chief Minister, I think some system needs to come into CSR, that it has to go for the sport, and maybe Ministry of Sports gets involved or somebody gets involved. So the bulk of the sponsorship, I would say 93% goes to cricket. So the balance 7% plus CSR, I think is required for us to survive. Then I would suggest if the business houses can adopt one sport, if 20 business houses pick up 20 Olympic sports, I think we can build up a good structure for 2028 Olympics, where we are thinking we should be in the top 10 and medals. Then the broadcasters, Mr. Sanjog is here, he'll say again, I'm bullying or something, I'm not on that thing, but I think the broadcasters should also allocate at least 10% of their airtime to promote national sports now, whether they're besides move away from cricket, they should move to other sports also 10% of their time, and the news bulletin should also come in, so that's how you promote the sports and people come to see that there are other sports, there are other athletes also in this country, there are elite athletes, and the newspaper should also pick up this news, and maybe I see that the news columns are now just coming down to half a page in big newspaper. And I think the national federations also need to put on their thinking caps to discuss with the government how to means control the things before things come back to normal in a year time or 1.5 years time. So all this has to go with teamwork to bring back glory. That's my whole idea. So we do need support from business houses, and they need to now put their best foot forward to help the sports.
I'll extend this question to both Sanjog and Mustafa. But before that, Mr. Batra, I'll just ask you, how is it that have you thought of any plans how to make it more lucrative for the corporates then to keep coming forward and not just rely on their CSR? I mean, there's got to be some sort of an attraction for them to come on board. Is that something that you thought about in these months?
See, I'll tell you what. See, corporates come back. See, they're all commercial business houses. If they don't get return, they'll not come to you.
Sure.
Now, you ask me for a handball, I would say. Handball or some other small games. Now, they're not visible on TV. Why should I get a big sponsor? That's where I'm saying they should adopt the sports. Something which has to come out of a commitment from a business house that, okay, fine, this much percentage of my profits I'm going to spend on development of table tennis. Somebody says on badminton, somebody says on handball, somebody says on other sports. So there are many sports in India. I'll say the medal potential now is in swimming, which has about swimming and aquatics, has 46 medals in Olympics. 46 gold, silver and bronze, and multiplied by 3. Athletics has 54. Then we have gymnastics about 26, cycling about 22, fencing is about 28. These sports are totally unknown except athletics. I don't think we exist anywhere in Olympics. Why don't these business houses come if we want to go into a league of winning 40, 50 medals? Until we get medals in these sports, we are going to be nowhere. In swimming till today, India has never qualified. In Olympics, they only go in that quota which you have for a country, 2 quota. So we need to think about how these sports develop, and that's where business houses need to come in. We can't expect Sports Authority of India or government to keep on funding all the time. That's what my point is.
Sure. Mustafa, I mean, would you like to come in? You've treaded both those paths, right? As an athlete on this side, now, working with the corporate world. Do you see it differently as to what Mr. Batra says?
No, I think it's very evident that it has to be a collective effort. There are certain aspects which government and federations have a stronger hold on and have to be held accountable for that. But at the same time, corporate India definitely has to do its part in contributing and building out these sports. And our whole agenda from day one is, while we have built IIS, we've always said that one IIS is not enough in the country. Our country is so big and geographically so diverse that we need many more such facilities to really tap into all the talent that is there and readily available. So yes, I do agree, but at the same time, I think it is a collective effort that is needed for us to really maximize our true potential as a whole nation.
Sanjog, let me get your views as a broadcaster. It's a very important cog in that entire wheel that we're talking about. I mean, there's some sort of reliance when it comes to, money that exists in the market vis-a-vis the viewership that there is for a particular sport. How do you balance that out? You heard from Mr. Batra saying that he'd like, help from the broadcaster. I know that Star does a lot, covering a lot of other sport, but how do you get that perfect balance going?
Yeah, so it's an interesting chicken and egg situation, right, Nikhil? And if you were to ask me, and I'll come back to the question that you've currently asked, but if I go back to the original question around what could be reset for the sports ecosystem, I would actually say the structures and models of governance should be carefully looked at. And I think the big question to be asked is, one, every sport is unique, right? The realities of every sport are different from other sports, where football is today versus kabaddi versus some of the other Olympic sports. They're at different stages of their life cycle. They're at different stages of fan affiliation. They're at different stages of popularity. They're at different stages of the kind of athlete pool that already exists or could potentially develop. Even within cricket, right? Women's cricket and men's cricket, just in terms of the product that it is at very different stages of its life cycle. one needs a lot more nurturing, investment, hand-holding, and propping up, while as the other could potentially be the lever for leveraging the popularity of it to prop up women's cricket. So I think the first admission has to be that not every sport can be approached in the same way. Each sport is unique and thus potentially needs a unique model of governance. And I think if we can start by acknowledging, admitting that, and then designing the structure for that sport, we'll be much better off. And that's the sort of top-down approach, right? On the other side is the bottom-up approach, which is if you don't have fans for a sport, chances are you won't have athletes for the sport. And Mithali and Sunil will both testify to this. They were both fans of the sport before becoming athletes in the sport. And the health of the sport depends on its fans. And I think collectively as an ecosystem, and most importantly, as organizations or institutions that govern the sport, we need to really put the fans at the center of what we want to do, what we aspire to do, and what we want the sport to be. If the size of fandom, if the depth of fandom for any sport grows, the sport grows with it and brings with it financial viability, media coverage. I mean, all of us remember the World Cup final in 2017, right? It will remain a landmark event in sport. And I'm not even qualifying it by calling it women's cricket or women's sport. It was a landmark moment in sport. It was one of the most watched moments in Indian sporting history, not women's cricket, not women's sport. Yes, we've been set back, to the point that Mithali was making, but I think there is immense opportunity for us to use this time. And, I don't mean to sound insensitive about what has happened over the last 3.5 months in this country, but it does present an opportunity for us to really think of how we would design the structures around each of these sports differently if we were starting from scratch. And this is really the opportunity to reset some of the thinking, some of the execution, what Mustafa said, some of the structures around each of the sports that we have, and collectively as an ecosystem.
Mr. Batra, you'd like to come in? I mean, point that Sanjog makes, maybe governance is something that needs to be looked at, probably change models, different sport need a completely different outlook.
Governance, I would say, as an issue, which is a media perception, a public perception that the sports federations, they are corrupt and all these things. So let me tell you, I would say most of the sports federations don't have any money, so I don't know how they become corrupt. Something in back of your mind of everybody in the government funds. I know government gives fund of 32 crores to hockey. Mr. Pradhan is in the panel. Hockey does not even get 1 rupee. It goes from one pocket of government to the other. They are just against room rent, food, everything, air travel. So this perception has to go out. Yes, I will. If you are asking me that all federations are being managed properly, I would say no. But if because of maybe 10 out of 50 are not performing properly, don't blame the balance 40. The kind of governance you are looking for, if you need good people, you need money to hire good people. So this is where I'm saying CSR sport, a CSR fund, or the business houses come in, and then they tie up, like Kabaddi has tied up with Star, or football has tied up with Reliance, and things like moving. So the governance automatically improves in that way. When you have good people coming in, that's what I started initially, that why doesn't a business house adopt a sport where there is medal potential? Because see, we have people sitting here for 30 years in federation. So their mindset is not going to change now until somebody comes and shakes them up. So this is what I am looking at and asking for, to help from the business houses, is please come in, help us, hold our hands, and we are willing to change. So please come and involve yourself with us. Government cannot keep on funding everything all the time. So we have to become independent and self-reliant.
Okay, Mustafa, what would be the inhibitions generally of the corporate sector to non-cricket sport? I mean, it can't be as simple as there's no viewership, so I'm not going to go there.
We are, I guess, outlier to this whole problem, where we are kind of invested in multiple Olympic sports and have been for the last 4 or 5 years, if not longer. So, I can speak for ourselves that yes, one is that there is a commitment and a passion that our promoters have, in which we have been mandated to start promoting Olympic sport, and that's how we've gone about it. But I can see the reservations that a lot of other corporate houses may have. Some of the points that have been touched by Sanjog and by Batraji in terms of the perception that they have with regards to how these sports are governed and how the federations may or may not handle the support that is being provided. But personally, I can say that there have been challenges at our own end where even though these federations don't have money, there is just a lot of inertia in terms of change and a lot of resistance to anyone else coming in, even if it is not related to financial benefits, even if it's just about decision making and power. So I think the concern that we have faced in some of the sports is that there's just, while we are ready to come forward and contribute and put money behind whatever we have, our vision and our plans, there's no reciprocation from their end. And that just discourages a lot of corporates from taking many more steps forward. We have a detailed sports team, so we keep driving away and we're bullish. So we find ways to make stuff happen with whichever sports are receptive. But there are many that haven't been receptive, and we've gotten discouraged and have had to walk away.
All right. I would
Nikhil,
yeah.
Can I chip in, please?
Please, Sudhir. Yeah, please.
After listening to all this, the bigger issues surrounding sports and different sports, I think if in schools, when you're really young, and if you can bring in different sports and the facilities and the encouragement to play different sports, because it doesn't require a lot of money. When we talk about a corporate from Mustafa's point of view or the governments, there's a lot of money involved, a lot of talks. But in schools, let's suppose if we start encouraging everyone to play different sports, it will really help, because not every sports person is going to turn out to be a Leander Pace or a Baichung Bhutia or a Virat Kohli. But if he or she has played sports, he and she will understand and will want to watch. And if everyone has played sports in school, they will want to watch the sports they have played. And we are very self-centered, because the sports that we play, we want to watch the most. That's the general probability. Now, everyone will want to watch their sports. And let's suppose, like 2 days back, I was watching the wrestling boys and girls train. I went again yesterday, and I want to go again today to watch, because it's so attractive. So then the fan base increases. And then when everyone is watching sports and everyone has their own catered audiences, then a Sanjog will not have a problem showing it. Then the governments will not have a problem encouraging people, why not watching kabaddi or a swimming or a TT? And then Mustafa will not have a problem selling it to the corporates.
Yeah.
So I think what we can solve from school time is let everyone play different sports. Because when you play it, then you understand it. Why do they say that you bring more sports people into the business? Because you understand it. Mustafa is far better than probably somebody who hasn't played the sports when he goes about his thinking, whatever job he's right now in. Because when you play the sports, you understand more. And if we play different sports, we'll have different fan base. Then a guy will say, you know what? Football match is happening. Sunil Chhetri is playing. I don't want to go. There's a kabaddi game going on. I'll watch there. You know what? Virat Kohli is playing. I don't want to go there, because you know what? Swimming is happening there. I want to watch that. And that's where 1.3 billion people, because that's our strength, will watch different sports and we'll have different fan base.
Yeah, valid point, Sunil. But if I could just ask you a counter on that. I mean, when you and I were growing up, or when all of us were growing up, when we went to school, we had all sport. Every kid played all sort of sport. I can't think of a single school that doesn't have football as a sport that is played, right?
Nikhil, we did not have every sports.
No,
we only had two sports. Sorry, three.
Yeah, hockey,
football, cricket, and running. There was no hockey. And I can tell you, football, cricket, and run. Run from the teachers. That's all 3 sports we played. No, there was there was some schools, maybe a little bit, not the private ones, would have kho-kho.
Yeah.
Some schools will have 100 meters and some dashes, and that's about it. There was no swimming, for sure. Only the top private schools would have swimming. Yeah. There was no sports. We have to have all sports. Give it there, and kids will choose it. If you don't give it, then all will want to be a footballer or cricketer or whatever, the easy ones. Everyone is playing cricket, everyone is playing football, everyone is playing the more prominent ones. But if you give all sport, if you give a nice TT table, if you give a nice tennis court, if you give a nice then only the kids are going to take. Because when you're young, you're not manipulated. When you're young, you don't think or plan or scheme. You just want to do whatever comes naturally and makes you happy. But our schools don't get into that. 2 periods of PT, go and play whatever you want. And the one who wants to be a doctor, he gets 18 classes a week. Sports people get two classes of PT. That took PT. You can go and play whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's not fair for sports people in the schools. It's not.
True. And sometimes not even play, just, hang around the school. You could do that in those.
Run around, true.
Okay, valid point. Just quickly, I have a few questions coming in from the viewers, but just 2 big ideas that I wanted to touch upon, and I'll get your thoughts on that. Mithali, I'll come to you. 3.5 months, many would say that the BCCI has been dragging its feet over a women's IPL. This could have been a time for all of them to put their head. What do you make of it? Could have been a good time to really put a plan in place?
Well, I think had this not be a pandemic situation, probably I would have seen another team added to the challenges. Of course, to have an IPL sort of a league, yes, you need to have the franchises involved in it as well. But since the team has done very well in the T20, I see a lot of, at least few franchises did show keenness to start recruiting women cricketers or making a team, because when the franchises get involved, they reach out to talent. They go into the interiors and try to locate talents. So I think that way we get to see more young girls from say the rural or the interiors of our country to come and play on this platform. That also improves the reach of women's cricket in those parts. But the current situation, I think men's IPL itself, there is a huge question mark on it. So I don't see that women's cricket, we would have an IPL this year. Maybe another 2-3 years is what I'm looking at.
Sure. I mean,
Nikhil, I'd like to just come in on the point that Sunil was making, and it's a really interesting point, right? Effectively, what Mustafa and Dr. Batra spoke of and what Sunil spoke of is you can't take a cookie cutter approach, right? Sunil was talking about a bottom up approach where kids are incentivized to play. But there's a deeper problem, and I'm glad he touched upon it. The deeper problem with sport in this country is with the mindset that parents and teachers have, actually the adults have towards sport, and not allowing kids to play, or not allowing kids to play enough. I mean, Mithali will have, I'm sure, many experiences which she's experienced personally, as well as has seen other girls go through, where girls are literally stopped from playing, right? Let alone being incentivized to play. I think if we take a step back, I think it's also about changing that mindset around sport, that adults need to be more accepting, accommodating, and eventually encouraging of kids' tendency to play. An 8-year-old girl who wants to pick up a bat and go out and play should not be stopped from doing so, being told that you will hurt yourself, or that this is not the right thing for you to do. A 12-year-old boy who wants to continue playing football as a career option should be allowed to continue, and not told, well, there's no career in sport. Why don't you, focus on your 18 classes of which will lead you to become a doctor? So I think, if we are taking a bottom-up approach, which is the right thing to do, there has to be an attempt at changing the mindset. And that's where I think heroes play such a huge role. I mean, I've seen more girls want to play cricket because they've seen a Mithali play. I've seen more young boys wanting to play football because they've seen a Sunil play. And I think that's where the role of the athlete becomes much more than just being a competitive sports person. At least in our context, these are not just heroes because they participate and win. These are heroes because they're inspiring an entire generation to not just play competitive sport, but play to begin with. And I think that's the fundamental thing that needs to change in this country, which is the adult mindset towards sport.
Right. Mr. Pradhan mentioned, how they're trying to change that as well, right at the start of that discussion that we had. Sanju, quick word on that. Appetite for a women's IPL, Star Sports?
I think there is immense appetite for cricket and sport in general. And it sort of goes back to the point, and I think Mithali put it really well. We just need to make sure that the time is right for women's IPL to happen in the construct that will do the tournament great service and not do any kind of disservice to the sport. Because I think what has happened over the last couple of years is women's cricket has really gone from being on the fringes to being central. And this is the opportunity for us to really build on that foundation. If it's women's IPL, that's the right next step, then so be it. But to begin with, and again, Mithali should come in on this, a fixed calendar for women's sport, which allows fans to engage with women's cricket regularly, would be the starting point.
Sure. Mithali, you want to come
Sure.
in before I take some questions from the audience?
Well, I think, yes, what he said is absolutely right, that, it helps the players and the followers of women's cricket to actually look up to, if there are any, look up to in terms of the calendar, what kind of series and international tours that we have. And it also gives them a nice schedule to follow women's cricket, which is, as players, we've already put forward to BCCI, and BCCI definitely had schedules for us this year, but I think they'll have to revisit it with the current situation. Yeah.
Okay, two questions coming in from the viewers that are watching us. The first one, Sunil, I'll throw it to you. The gentleman wants to know, sports person get their adrenaline from fans in the stadium. What will happen in a post-COVID world with empty stands? How will you get your inspiration?
We won't. As far as the fan base concerned, we won't get it. And before I saw the Dortmund Schalke match, I was really depressed.
Yeah.
With a thought, because I'm very orthodox. A major part of me plays for the fans. It gives me a lot of energy, and it's one of the best things about playing sports. But then when I watched the match in an empty stadium, I as a fan got so much of joy. So I think it's the second best thing. Watching live matches are the best thing in life. And what else are you going to do? Watch live match is the best thing. So if you can't go to the stadium, at least you can watch on telly, and it gives so much happiness to so many people around the world. So I think I've calmed down. Before I was a little bit sad and depressed that fans are not going to be there. But because it's bigger than the sport right now, what we're going through, to be very honest. People's life are on stake. So let's get fully immune or win the battle against COVID, and then fans can come in. But till then, watch on telly, because at the end, it's live match.
Right. Mustafa will find some way to engage the Bengaluru FC fans somehow or the other. Maybe, have their audio in the stadium, something like that. Okay, the next question, Sanjog, that's for you. Somalia Santikaran from Money Control wants to know, what steps are you planning to engage fans now, and what are the challenges ahead for non-cricket sports discipline as a broadcaster?
Okay, so that's two separate questions. One, I think Sunil already touched upon it. I think just the way that all of us have adapted to working from home, there will be ways of leveraging technology to deliver both to the players and fans at home an experience which is very different from what sport used to feel like, but could be no less compelling. One way of thinking about it, and again, Sunil, gave a caveat that he was more orthodox or conventional, but there is no reason for Bengaluru FC fans to not be able to cheer for Sunil when he's on the field. Technology today allows us to connect millions of people when they're watching the same game. Why not have them connect with the game more deeply than they have done before? That could take the shape of video of fans inside the stadium. That could take the shape of audio of fans inside the stadium. So I think technology today is potentially allowing us to deliver an experience which is different. Yes, so Sunil may not like it to begin with, but it's something that all of us will adapt to, because as Sunil said, there's a much larger question to be answered here, and a much larger opportunity, which is, can we have sport which allows not just 30,000 fans to cheer for Sunil or 40,000 fans to cheer for Mithali, but to have millions of fans who are watching them on their screens actually cheer for them in some form or manner.
Right. Thanks so much for that answer, Sanjog. Till we get another question, I got 5 minutes, and I was just looking at some big ideas, and I'll ask this one to Mr. Batra and Mustafa. Both of you can answer that. I was reading somewhere in Europe, they're looking at these one-on-one competitions, which are going to serve this dual purpose. One, athlete gets some sort of, momentum going by participating. And secondly, it might just attract a lot of TV audiences. Just to explain, what I mean by one-on-one competition, get the best people in your sport to participate. If I could give an example of, in India, you could have, someone like a Duti run along with Hima, over 200 meters, or the two javelin throwers compete in a one-on-one contest, or two wrestlers in the same weight category come. would that be something that Mr. Batra you'd look at? One, it'll help athletes get fit as and when you resume, some sort of competition. Secondly, it might just attract some eyeballs, gives the broadcaster something to show as well.
Nikki, to start with, initially we just want the sports to start, or which I feel that by September, October, we should be in control of the things. That's what my feeling is, that something should be looking better then. And we are planning our own national championships because they have not happened this year from October to December. That's how we are planning. This one-to-one competition we've not thought of, to be very honest. And our main focus is now for the Olympic athletes to train for Olympics. And then there are other events. In 22, you have Asian Games and Commonwealth Games. You have the World Cups and other events happening. The focus is divided. It's not on some show business thing that you show it and attract the fans. Right now, we are getting videos done on athletes at home, what they are doing, and put them on social media. So that's how we are planning to do the linking through social media. But these kind of event one-on-one, Europe, it is possible. They are tiny countries. The entire Europe is half of India's population. So they can do it. It's easier for them. But for India to manage in 1.4 million population, gather people, then follow all the government norms, it's not so easy to do it right now.
Just because you mentioned Europe, Mustafa, I'll come to you. Sunil, one word, since he says, it probably could be easier in Europe to manage. I was reading somewhere that the Croatian FA is pretty keen that India can come there. If situation isn't great here, once, foreign travel is allowed, you could come there and practice. What do you make of this idea? I mean, move to a country where probably it's possible to have that bio bubble and train?
Yeah, if you're only asking me about the matches and the condition and the training, I'll be very happy. But I do understand there's a lot of things involved. Yeah. The safety, how will you travel, who is coming from where, how many people. I mean, it's not easy. Because in my sports, it's not only 23 players, the support staff, the ball boys, the kit man, we are like 60 people. And I know it's going to be very, very difficult. If it happens, I do not care where we are training or where we are having the camp. If we are getting friendlies, if there is proper training facility, I'll be very happy. I'm not too bothered about where. I'll be happy to go to Croatia because if they have invited us, probably they know they are safe there. And if our government also allows it, it would be great.
Mustafa, the one-on-one, what did you make of that? I'd pay good money for one of those contests for a full year subscription of Hotstar. I'd buy for that.
Me and Mustafa one-on-one.
I think it's going to be the norm for a little while now, Nikhil. I think we're seeing a lot of innovation coming into sport. I don't know if you guys caught any of the tennis which was happening at the Morataglu Academy, where they had come up with a new format and just try to make it fun. And in fact, today there's an article of BN Sport buying the rights of that for global. So it's going to happen. There's proposals of playing off some island in Abu Dhabi for the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. NBA starting in Orlando and at Walt Disney. So these one location events are going to be probably the easiest for everyone to manage, with all the safety restrictions that we have to put into place and the safety of the athletes. I think the one thing that everyone was forgetting right at the start, and we were very concerned about fans and how they would be, but we were all forgetting the safety of the athletes is paramount. And the last thing we want is for them to be facing any health issues. So I think our concerns are slowly starting to get addressed. And as things ease out, hopefully, like Batraji said, September, October, we can start seeing more competition happening. And I'm pretty sure it will. Even the ISL is talking about a one state location for the league. Kabaddi was proposing that, and so is the IPL. So it is going to be the way it is. And if we see these matchups, we'll all be there watching. I don't know which sport we'll pick between Sunil and me, but I think for everybody else, it'll be good.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. We're completely out of time. Thanks for those thoughts. I believe, we've given enough for the people who are watching us to chew on, things that can really be looked at to reboot the entire sporting ecosystem. Thanks, Mr. Batra, Sunil, Mithali, and Mustafa, and Sanjog. Thanks so much for joining us.